As we leave the Vigilus Tower, I can feel many of my companions watching me with concern. I haven't really spoken since the incident. Was it an entity, a god, or something else that warned me? I cannot help but notice that ever since my number of slaves has increased, Harvek is often watching over them or correcting them. I therefore offer him, in exchange for additional pay, to ensure order within my comitatus.
With pleasure, boss.
Finndurarth, what can you tell me about the Sithicness?
It is a strange and secretive guild, born from an alliance between the Blue and Opal Dragon Lords. They are known for seeking to acquire magical objects, knowledge, and for trading in both. To my knowledge, the guild was formed after the Dragon War and was present only in the Dragonlands, where they prospered for centuries and aided in the construction of the Amethyst Gate, which is known to be without equal in terms of magical fortification. Furthermore, they were the first to leave the Dragonlands to trade, establishing operational bases in Zarin.
Trade, spy, and steal, yes.
That is only half true. Their unique offerings brought them wealth and connections, which they used to delve into pre-calamity secrets and magical research.
They are also trying to uncover the secrets of the mages of my former order.
Interesting. And the Ratharnak Alliance?
They trade mainly in metal, wood, herbs, and dyes, goods that are extremely valuable and highly sought after in our time. Their production comes primarily from the Dragonlands. Nevertheless, some claim that the Alliance conducts clandestine operations in the background, and that their merchant activities are merely a facade meant to conceal their true intentions.
How surprising.
I take advantage of a stop at the Crimson Gate to unload my cargo for a very slight profit. I also base my decisions on the cargo I need to deliver to Salum and load my holds with timber. Upon arriving at the Mines of Plenty, I head straight to the Emporium to find the Dragonbone vendor. It is expensive, but I suspect that Mistress Candake will reimburse me. I also ask the seller to set another one aside for me when I return in 1 or 2 months.
I am going to store the Dragonbone in the cache set aside for this purpose.
Good idea, Garrick. Beaten incessantly by the scorching rays of a cruel sun, quiet Salem sits at the southernmost edge of the desolate brine mere, once a beautiful inner sea. I take in its clusters of sandstone buildings, home to a handful of factions from the nearby Dragonlands, while the terraces beyond the town are said to be unimaginably rich in salt. Yet the region's masters have long been reluctant to tap into this magnificent wealth. Colorful awnings offer patches of shade, and beneath them, deals for the coveted white powder are struck with great fervor. Beyond the low walls, blinding white salt flats stretch toward the northern horizon, a promise of a bright future for some, and for others, the looming threat of a slow and agonizing death. The largest and most crowded part of town is a spacious plaza called Lakeview Square. There is no lake to be seen anymore, but I can easily imagine its azure expanse, where the salt flats just below Salem now stretch to the horizon. Merchants lazily fan themselves beneath the awnings above their stalls, while locals and travelers alike idle in the shade of the surrounding buildings. Several prominent structures encircle the square. Upon entering the Ratharnak outpost, a small cluster of sandstone buildings adorned with bronze and green banners, I am escorted by a handful of armed agents to meet their leader, Chief Agent Welgan. He welcomes me into his office and offers me a seat at his desk. The agent is a well-built, square-jawed man, lacking any visible draconic features. The robes he wears look comfortable and practical, marked in Ratharnak bronze and green.
Welcome, Vagrus, welcome indeed. This is our humble outpost, such as it is. The Alliance has been present here since the beginning, but due to a consensus with our sisters and brethren in the Sithishnis Covenant, we have remained less active in our pursuits regarding Salum.
We briefly discuss their venture, which appears to be centered around acquiring salt, despite all the difficulties such an endeavor entails.
Of course, we would be very grateful if you could help with that. The Sithishnis sell salt mining licenses to independents like yourself. The clerks there tend to make things difficult, but simply tell them that you were sent by yours truly. I have a good relationship with the staff, and half of them owe me a favor. Bring any salt you have harvested here. I can promise you a good price. And as for other business, we are always here for you until your standing with the Ratharnak Alliance is adequate.
Welgan rises, and I do the same, and we shake hands.
Don't be a stranger, Vagrus. Drop by for a drink any time.
Why not now? Chief Agent Welgan welcomes me with a grin, and pours me a drink of my choosing. He himself prefers spicy grunak, a type of strong spirit from Fenmarch. I sit down with him, and we talk at length about my travels, the Empire, trade prices, mercenary work, and a great many other subjects. What can you tell me about Ratharnak's presence in Salem?
It's a curious matter, you know, how it all turned out for the Alliance. You see, we were the first to seal the deal with the Imperials here, when the realization of this location's worth set in some time after the war. The Sithishnis Covenant, together with the Ratharnak Alliance, reached for this opportunity in unison, but the salt was notoriously difficult to extract. You may have heard how troublesome it is to mine the bloody stuff.
I've heard about it indeed.
Now the Imperials have the right idea, using involuntary labor. Criminals, prisoners of war, you know. We have those too, but the Dragon Lords forbade their use, and the Alliance was cast in a bad light for even proposing such a thing. So Salem remained a backwater of no consequence for hundreds of years. Our blue and opal kin took over operations, and a little salt trickled in from their underused fields. That was until a couple of years ago. Their yield quadrupled in mere months. Naturally, our own leaders grew interested in the place again.
That seems suspicious, or at the very least strange.
Perhaps the Sithishnis found a new way of mining, a new technology to make harvesting safer. Did they finally lower themselves for profit and secretly begin using slaves? Surely not. But something did happen, and we wanted to find out what.
Have you managed to find it?
Not yet, but leadership believes we can still figure it out. Our own operation is practically non-existent despite how much of the fields we own. But we can't just give up and leave, can we?
Not really. Could this be connected to the rumor about Salem's secret?
Ah, so you've heard about the conspiracy theory. Of course, it would not be such a popular one had our Sithishnis kin not given people all kinds of reasons to be suspicious. I am merely commenting on this as a private person, so don't quote me on this. But something is amiss here. Why else would the Covenant's salt production have improved so dramatically over the past few years? They must have struck gold somehow. And they are keeping it a secret, the clever buggers. I don't blame them. But should someone, well, stumble upon the truth, the Ratharnak would be most, and I do mean most, grateful for being told.
I nod, and let him know that I'll try to investigate on my own. Could you help me, or give me some advice on salt mining? After all, It's in both of our interests that my enterprise succeeds.
That is true, that is true. You see, there is something that might work. It's all about protecting your workers, they say. If your miners don't drop dead, they mine more salt, right? It happens that I have come into possession of a certain potion. A single drop of it can drench the tongue and throat for a day. Our green kin from my homeland developed it for desert warfare, but from time to time I can get my hands on a vial, about once a week. Now, I can't give it to you for free, you understand? I have my own expenses to cover, but it's, as you put it, in both of our interests, right? Oh, and I'm forgetting that there is also an expert you can hire. She's very well versed in the art of salt mining. She was present when the oldest pits and tunnels were cut into the basin's eastern side. Bergavur, she's called, an engineer and miner. I can make sure she offers her services to you at a discount.
I'll take the potion of quenching. Welgan reaches into a drawer, takes out a vial filled with phosphorescent blue liquid, and hands it to me. I give him the coins, and he pockets them.
Both of our interests.
I also decide to hire Bergavur's services for the next 3 days. Before setting out on the prospecting expedition, I decide to purchase suitable equipment for my crew, mining gear, as well as 3 imbued masks. As I observe the patrons of the tavern, I see Finndurarth returning from the counter with 2 glasses.
Do me a favor and taste this specialty from my homeland, a smooth rosé.
The rosé is very fruity, perhaps a touch on the tart side.
It comes from the south of the Dragonlands, where the Green Brood is experimenting with winemaking, an art once believed to be lost, but in truth preserved by the first imperial settlers who came to the Dragonlands.
It is good enough that I find myself immensely enjoying its cool flavor. With a glass in hand and a full purse, I decide to mingle with the salt miners who frequent the shaker. They are a tough, loud, but generally good-natured bunch, despite being condemned to a life of back-breaking labor that can easily kill them in the long run. What do you know about the rumors of clandestine activities around Salem? The miners fall silent when I mention the rumors of shady activity surrounding salt production. They exchange uneasy glances, clearly reluctant to speak. Still, they tell me I'm good company, and I did buy them a couple of drinks, so in the end, they relent. One old-timer, with a shaggy beard, a battered leather hat, and only 3 crooked teeth, swears he heard a great unholy beast twisting and turning beneath the salt flats to the north.
It is asleep, but will soon wake and swallow Salem whole.
The others laugh at him, saying he must be drunk, just like his old fellows who died years ago in an accident. The man curses them and retreats into his mug. A stocky, broad-shouldered woman, tainted and almost constantly racked by coughing, cuts in.
I ran into a group of Sithicnus dragon riders a few weeks ago, in the dead of night. From their demeanor, those elite soldiers clearly did not want anyone to know they were there. I am convinced they would have killed me and my brigade if we had been discovered.
Others dismiss this as nonsense. Still, she recalls seeing strange arcane devices on the dragon riders, but the naysayers shut her down before she can elaborate. In the end, they all seem to agree on one thing. Something is not right with how the Covenant handles licenses and neglects such remarkable prospects. The trading house clerks make it exceedingly difficult to obtain mining permits. That would make sense if they had the means and willingness to harvest the salt themselves. But apparently, the opposite is true. I can tell that most miners sense something shady is going on, yet they are too afraid to speak openly about it. Have a pleasant evening. It is said that you might have a few bottles of Maycrathar's spirit.
Indeed, I still have a few left. But they won't be free, especially not for a foreigner.
Since I do not come here often, I choose to overlook the exorbitant price and entrust it to Vorax. The bottle I purchase is shaped like a dragon, its tail wrapped around its body, with a glass stopper set in its mouth. The slightly orange-colored liquid inside is clear. I find myself wondering What a great hero like Mek'Rathar would think of becoming the inspiration for an alcoholic beverage rather than something purer. Such is the fate of some heroes, it seems.
Do not worry, Vagrus. I will store it safely with the others.
While making the rounds of the stalls, I seize the opportunity to buy an ancient tablet as well as an arcane text for Renkailon. I also take advantage of the opportunity to repurchase a batch of medicinal herbs. I manage to find the low sandstone building that houses the office where I am supposed to purchase a permit. It is fairly well tucked away at the back of the complex, and no sign points to it, or is displayed on its facade. Entering through the low door leads into a dark room where one is supposed to wait in line, but nobody is here. The only corridor is hidden behind a pair of curtains. A sign next to it reads, "Come back later, we are busy." I eavesdrop briefly, only to hear several voices, apparently laughing at bawdy jokes and gossiping about colleagues. I completely ignore the sign and move forward, followed by my companions. I part the curtains and walk down the corridor. The room at the end is lit by candles and the little light that enters through the slit windows. Half a dozen clerks sit at tables, who now look at me with a mixture of surprise and indignance. I'm here to buy a salt mining permit. I don't have all day, so I ignored the sign. The clerks pull faces, and most of them turn back to stacks of papers in front of them. The exception is an older woman in purple robes, who turns to me with a fake smile and tells me that the sign outside is a mistake, but that she cannot give me a permit. What follows is a complex, headache-inducing rundown of several interconnected sets of laws and rules. It is supposed to explain why they cannot sell permits. Currently, it may change. They do not know when. I acknowledge that. Nevertheless, I was sent here on behalf of Chief Agent Welgan. The clerks become friendly right away. At length, it turns out that I can, in fact, purchase permits. The clerk lady in the purple robe stamps a document with my signature, then explains that from now on, I can buy tokens that are then turned in at the site for each day of harvesting. I can purchase tokens from the clerks here. I am to then go out into Brine Mere and look for overseers who collect these tokens and designate my work site. If I start mining without doing this, I will be fined and my salt will be confiscated. More distant areas of the basin are out of the control of the Sithicnus Covenant, and so I may need to pay tokens there. Depending on the area, sites cost between 2 and 5 tokens per day. With that, the clerk opens a large chest full to the brim with small pearlescent tokens with the Sithicnus insignia. I'll take 5 tokens,